Today, we're going to talk about creating abundance that lasts. Abundance starts with a state of mind that doesn't necessarily take years of practice and hard work to achieve. In fact, abundance consciousness happens instantaneously. Martha's going to help us to achieve and understand this mindset today as we begin to create abundant lives that are based on your dreams. So I have to say, I joyfully welcome and invite Martha Beck to today's webinar. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
It's so fun. We were in Whistler just about a year ago, which is fun. And it's fun to have you back because you're going to be joining us this November for Seduction of Spirit. And the theme of our workshop is going to be creating abundance. And you really are the source of that. So I'd love to start by asking you, what is abundance?
Well, abundance, first of all, is knowing that the technical issues on this line have been fully resolved. Do you hear my voice echoing?
No, we're good.
Okay, great, because I can hear a strong echo. I just want to make sure you guys can. Each of us has in our brains a very deep part called the reptilian brain, and its only job is to keep us alive by making us afraid. And the two things it fears are, I call it lack and attack. It's afraid something's going to happen to me, and it's afraid there won't be enough. So this feeling of there won't be enough is very, very dominant, simply because of the structure of our brains. And if we then tell ourselves stories about the lack of resources in our world, that craving becomes almost a panic. And so many people show up to programs designed to create abundance in that state of panic. And the key thing to realize when you're trying to create abundance in your life is that abundance can't arise from that state of panic without a few extra steps. The way I like to look at it is that the universe answers all your requests and all your prayers for abundance, and it answers them immediately. But it sends all the good stuff to your real home address. And your real home address is peace. You know that. You feel that. You are certain that your real home is a state of being where you know there's enough and you are at peace. That's your real address. And the universe can't send its abundance to panic because that's not real. And also, it will encourage you to stay in panic. And the whole universe is designed to teach you to come home. So the whole focus of what I do with abundance is about going to that place of home, because we put plenty of requests into the world with our panic. It's a strong, powerful asking. The problem with most people when they get to manifesting abundance is that they stay attached to the panic. And then they can't go home, and then they can't get their stuff. So that's the basic premise we'll be talking about. And I've found that working on it from this angle not only gets people to a much better place psychologically, but opens the channel for creativity and manifestation.
What's brilliant about that is, because we all sort of know that we have blocks to abundance. And that's one of the things that people continue to write about and share. But what you've opened us up to in this moment is to realize that our real block is the fact that we're being routed down the hallway of panic versus going to our home of peace.
Yep.
And that's, happens in a lot of our lives. Help me understand, why some people have abundance in some areas of their life and not in other areas. I sometimes get confused by how we get partial abundance but not complete abundance.
What a great question. It's all about relaxing that fear of disbelief or dissolving our disbelief. It's interesting. The Tao Te Ching says, in the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the pursuit of enlightenment, every day something is dropped. And we want the abundance that comes with enlightenment, because otherwise I've coached billionaires who have a very, very panicky feeling of not enough. So the reason people have abundance in some areas is simply that they don't disbelieve. They've dropped their disbelief. You often see this in people for example, who follow in their parents' footsteps. I was born into a household where my father was a professor. So I became a professor because to me that seemed like the path of least resistance. It's like, oh, well, if you can't think of anything else to do, you can always become a professor. Because I'd watched that happen and I believed it. But I hadn't watched anybody become a successful author. And I had to work for years on my disbelief that I could do it before it happened. And so any specific thing where you have a belief that abundance can come to you, it will come in that way. I had a client who was a movie star because her mother was a movie star, and she was like, I should get a career, but I just can't do it, so I guess I'll just be a movie star because that's easy. You know, it's like, it's so funny. It's where people believe they'll get abundance that it comes.
So in that effort, I think one of the things that you do so well in all of your platforms out there is to help us really address the fact that where are we blocked? And you also, what I love about what you do, Martha, is you actually show us the roadmap based on what we've done successfully. Because one of the things that we get confused, like you just said with the actress, was, you know, so many people want to quote unquote be a movie star, and here this woman just becomes one because it's just where she naturally fits into her purpose, like you did with being a professor. Yeah. It's when we're choosing the path that is our true purpose or dharma, like you as an author, and the fact that the truth was one of your major platforms of sharing the wisdom of the world is in your writing. So what were some of the ways that you overcame that block around writing?
Well, I'll share a lot of these, the methods of getting past the blockage that worked for me because they work for everybody, whatever. And you're absolutely right. It opens to your true path. So being a professor actually wasn't my true path. So at a certain point it became very uncomfortable for me, boring, icky, to keep going that way. And something else began to become very seductive. It's the seduction of the spirit, right? So it felt alluring to start writing a book. I'll never forget. I was so exhausted, and someone asked me, when's the last time you read a book for fun? And I thought, oh, wait, I remember. That's a thing. You can read a book for fun. I'd read 18,000 books that weren't fun by this point. And so I went and got Jurassic Park at the grocery store. And as tired as I was glued to it, and I stayed up all night. And in the morning, I thought, I want to write books that people read for fun. I'd been going into academia, not so fun. And it set in me such a feeling of freedom. It just went pow in my heart. And I knew that that's what I wanted in a very deep, almost non-emotional way, almost a sense of inevitability. But it was so strong that I actually burst into tears. And then I had to start mining my past for anything that would help me believe I could succeed as an author. And it was not easy because there was so much telling me I couldn't succeed. It's a very, very slim chance that you're going to succeed as a book author. So I would go back to like comments that I'd gotten on papers in college where a teaching fellow said I was a good writer. And, evidence that when I would extemporize when I was teaching class, the students seemed to like that better than when I was quoting from somebody else. And it was such slim pickings at first. And I had to learn, it's like an island comes out of the ocean, first it's a little point of volcanic lava, and then it keeps building up, it's erupting underwater, it grows. Just keep focusing intensely on every experience that helped me believe I could succeed. And it was really, really hard going for a while, but it always worked. I could get my attention there, I would write. And when I finally got all the way through a book that failed, and then another book, it succeeded at last. And that was the breakthrough. It took years. And I think it can take you much less because I'm going to tell you how it works.
Well, the floor is yours, Martha. Tell us how it works, because your methods truly are breakthrough for all of us.
Well, the first thing you have to do, weirdly, is you have to relax your sense of attachment to needing to succeed. And I kind of like to describe this by saying that, an elevator, when it opens and it's full of people, it can't fill up with other people until those people get out. People are always saying to me, I want abundance, I want a platform to jump to. I'll quit my horrible job, or I'll get out of this marriage that I'm only staying in for the money, when there's a really rich source of abundance coming to me. And that's like someone looking at a packed elevator and saying, okay, I'm going to go in there. It's like the abundance tries to come in and the elevator is full of whatever you've got in there. So there's always an emptying process. It's very paradoxical. I just said in the pursuit of enlightenment, every day something is dropped. So the very first thing you have to do is clean out your mind of the clutter of fear and disbelief in your own ability to succeed. And even though you may not be able to earn money today, I guarantee you can start cleaning out. All it means is getting rid of stuff. You can do that, even if you have not one penny. As you get emptier and emptier, and by that I mean the Buddhist sense of empty, not the, oh, I'm so empty, I'm sad, but the clarity of not having a lot of fear on board. As you do that, you'll start to feel, the first thing you'll feel is a mood of abundance. And you'll find yourself thinking more easily of times when things came abundantly to you, or things like oxygen that are abundantly available to us. After a while, it starts to affect your behavior, and you start to behave like a person who lives in abundance. And this attracts the attention of other people who like abundance, and it attracts situations that give you abundance. And you continue the process of emptying out, and then allowing to receive. And you have to have patience until it results ultimately in the money, the love, the satisfaction that you originally set out to achieve. But you get lots and lots of rewards along the way, and it starts immediately. And that's how you know you're on track. It feels good all the way to heaven is heaven. Hello?
Hi, totally. Can you hear? Yeah.
Hello?
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our step one, is that we get to relax.
Yeah. I actually would like to work interactively with someone here if there's time for that. I'd like to do a little coaching on this. Is there the ability for someone to raise a hand on this phone line? I know we're working with a new system.
We do. We actually do have a caller that we can access right now, who we can bring on so that you can begin to work this process with her.
Great, let's do it.
Her name is Dallas, and she's going to share with you, and you can really begin to coach and dialogue with her in helping her achieve and share your wisdom and the work that you have.
That's what I like best.
Okay, and so do you want to do it on microphone? Is that what we're going to do?
Sure, yeah, I'd like to do it so the group
we can put
hear.
her on microphone, and I will have you talk through the process. So
okay, great.
Let me just have our engineer switch over, and we're going to have Dallas join us.
Hello.
Hi, Martha. How are you?
Hi. I'm great. How are you?
Great,
Hello, Dallas?
thanks.
Dallas? Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, great. Sorry about these little glitches, you guys. It's all part of smoothing through the glitches of the material world is actually the last phase of effortless abundance. And one of the parts of the manifestation process that you need to be very relaxed with, we all need to be very relaxed with, is that the sort of materialization phase always is bumpy at first. And that's just because the clarity of intention still has areas of turbulence in it. And it's absolutely nothing to worry about. And the more joyfully you can bounce over that, the quicker the smooth, perfect, easy manifestation really comes. So, Dallas, I take it that you're on this call because you wish to increase abundance in your life. Is that fair to say?
That's right, Martha. Absolutely.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your situation, if you don't mind sharing.
Sure. Where to begin? So, I grew up in a family where we had enough, but we never had a lot, and I've had to, work very hard to support myself financially and also in other ways. And I find that now that I'm about 30 and I'm really thinking about what it is that I want to create in my life, that it's almost impossible for me to think about owning a home or being able to travel in the ways that I want to travel. I just can't see how to get from where I am now, which is actually a place of, relative success, to that ultimate place where I'm really living with the kind of abundance that I dream of.
Okay, so even the way you framed that is very wise. You're being very accurate and perceptive about what the problem is. Because you said, I can't imagine myself being able to have this. I can't really see it.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting. I'm sure you've all heard, when they used to think that the 4-minute mile was an impossible thing for a human being. No human could run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And then Roger Bannister broke the record, went under 4 minutes for the mile, and after that, everyone could do it. If you can't imagine it happening, you won't do it. You simply can't do something you can't imagine. There's plenty of stuff you can imagine that you can't do. I can imagine jumping to the moon. I may have to get a lot of machinery with me to do that for real. But I guarantee if you can't imagine it, you won't do it. It's not that you can't, it's that you won't because you don't believe that it's possible. The whole abundance game is about believing and disbelieving. Now, the interesting thing here is that we always try to add the belief that we can succeed. But the problem is the elevator is full of beliefs about not succeeding. So instead of thinking that you lack a belief in success, the actual truth is, and this is a very important point conceptually, even though it seems trivial, you need to start thinking not, I don't have the belief that I can succeed, but I'm crowded with beliefs that I won't succeed or that I can't have the abundance to travel and have wonderful things and lavish parties or whatever it is you want. So can you make that switch with me, Dallas? Can you see that you're crowded with beliefs and fears about not succeeding?
Yeah, I definitely can see that.
So if you don't have a belief and you want to just go out and get a belief, it's impossible. If you don't believe it, you can't force yourself to believe it. But if you realize that what you're really working with is a set of beliefs that are like clutter in a house, then you can start to declutter. And you can always throw stuff away, even if you don't know how to go get stuff. First of all, I want to just run everyone along with Dallas. Dallas is our mascot. You're our token person on the phone, Dallas. I hope that's okay with you. Is your house, do you have a neat as a pin house or a cluttered house, or what's your house like, literally?
Literally, my house is probably a little bit on the cluttered side, and a little bit on the small side.
What's the smallest, most cluttered place in your house? And everybody think this.
Probably my desk.
Okay. And how do you feel when you're sitting at your desk and there's all this clutter?
Overwhelmed and unable to focus.
Yeah, and just notice how that disturbs your body's energy. And the body is always, always accurate, reflecting the true vibration that we're emanating to the world. So you can think, I believe in abundance, I believe in abundance, I believe in abundance. But if it's really sending out, I'm scared I'll be a bag lady, I'm scared I'll be a bag lady, the universe doesn't hear the words, it hears the truth of the vibration you're sending out. So the vibration that you're in at your desk is, I'm overwhelmed, I don't need more stuff, I got to get rid of everything, right?
Right.
I wish this wasn't here. And so you're sending out into the universe a feeling of, don't give me more, I've got too much. Do you see how that's working? And I know it's just in this one area, and Gordon very aptly highlighted the fact that you can be very, very stuck in one area and very, very abundant in another. But I'm guessing your desk has something to do with the way you try to make a living. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay, so there you sit trying to make a living, thinking, too much, too much. Can you see how that would be sending the wrong signal?
I can see that.
So I'd like you to imagine sitting at your desk, and there it is with all the clutter, and your fairy godmother comes into the room, and she says, Dallas, let me organize all this stuff. I'm filing away all this for tax purposes. This doesn't need doing. I'll call these 5 people. I will cancel everything. Don't worry, I'm your fairy godmother. None of this is going to cause a problem. And we're going to put this here and that there, and everything's gone from your desk except the phone and a pencil and a clean sheet of paper, and the shelves are organized. There's not much on them. There's a big window. It's airy. It's clean. There's nothing out of place, and there's actually very little, period. It's just a beautiful open space. Can you imagine that?
I can.
How does it feel?
Very different.
Could you describe that difference for us?
It feels like possibility and potential.
And relaxation?
Yeah.
Do you remember what I said about the reptile brain and how its fear there's not enough is what drives us to seek abundance, but also keeps us stuck in a place where abundance can't reach us? Remember that? That feeling of the inner lizard going nuts?
Yep.
And when you're talking about possibility and openness, it's the empty elevator. I'm going to mix some metaphors here. It's a place where you belong. It's home. The packages that are being sent to you are finally going to reach you if you can stay in this peacefulness. And all you had to do was imagine a clean office. Isn't that interesting? You're actually in a vibration of harmony and receptivity and openness. And doesn't it make sense that nothing can reach you until there's an opening around you?
Does make sense, yep.
Okay. So here you are in your small space. Now but it's now empty. And what I'd like everyone on the phone to do today is that I'd like you to literally clean something out of your home, your office, especially anything related to the way you are seeking abundance. It needs to be open. And you can always open. When you go out clutching for things, they slip through your fingers because of your attachment, and there's also no room for them in your belief system. So can you, Dallas, there's all these fears. I'll never have enough money. I just don't see that happening. What do you see? Honestly, what do you see when you look forward?
I see more of the same. I see doing okay and getting by, but never getting to that point of truly thriving.
Okay, so you may think that this is the world as it is, but what you're putting out is, I believe I'm going to get more of the same. I believe I'm going to get more of the same, more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. And you will immediately manifest in every given moment of your life more of the same. And it will look all monotonous. But if you meditate for about 5,000 hours, you'll find that your mind starts doing an interesting thing. It starts to realize that consciousness is recreating reality in every given moment. And that it's just our sense of continuity that makes things seem to drag out in time. That's how miracles occur. People drop the belief that there's a status quo, and they start to realize that everything is created in every moment. I know that's a little esoteric and everything, but once you actually experience it, it's like, why did I ever think anything else? Of course, there's only the present moment. How do I know? Because the past is not here anymore. It's gone. It doesn't exist. There's only now, and everything can be created anew in the now. So here you are recreating and recreating and recreating more of the same, more of the same. So I want to do with your mind a little bit of what we just did with your office. And again, it begins in imagination. And all you have to do is hold the imagination. This is what I did with writing. Hold the imagination in a place of abundance by only giving attention to the things where your heart was at home, which is your real destiny, and you know that. I don't have to convince you that feeling that goodness is your place of ultimate purpose and rest. So all we have to do is imagine your mind changing today. I don't need you to change it. Will you play with me on this, Dallas?
Absolutely.
Okay. So now think of your mind, your brain, as a round room, and all around the sides are boxes. Big boxes, little boxes, boxes with labels, boxes. Some of them are nasty memories with skull and crossbones on them. In there you keep the thoughts that hurt you, like I'm not good enough, and nobody loves me, life is horrible, and then you die, whatever. In other boxes you keep things like the memory of puppies or good meals I've enjoyed or whatever. And I want you to see that one of the boxes is marked thoughts about money. So you go to this box and you open it. Yeah, can you see it?
I can.
And inside it are thoughts like, I'm never really going to succeed. I'm just going to get more of the same. The reason you know that these thoughts are not things that you want to keep is that when you hold them in the mind, they cause shutting down, fatigue, suffering to some degree. Are you still with me, Dallas?
Yes, I am.
Can you see the box?
I can see it.
Okay, so take out the thought, this is as good as it gets. Hold it in your hands. It can be like a slimy little lump or a piece of razor wire, depending on how much it hurts. How does it feel as you hold the thought in your mind, I'm just going to keep getting this. This is as good as I can expect.
Feels heavy.
Yeah. You can actually physically feel a heaviness in your body, right?
Yeah.
Do you see how your body is full of this idea? It's heavy. It's having to carry this idea. It's not just the way things naturally are. It's heavy. It's a thing that you cart around with you, and it slows you down. Yeah?
Yeah.
So now, Dallas, I just want you to put it on the floor in front of you. Is it on the floor?
It is.
What does it look like?
Looks dark and ugly.
What?
It looks dark and ugly.
How big is it?
It's big. It's like a big boulder.
Okay. Is everybody on the phone? I want you doing this with the thoughts you have, the least positive thoughts you have about money, specifically. So you've all got your worst thought about money on the floor in front of you. And just play this game with me. It's just working with imagination and energy, and that's how you set yourself free. So, Dallas, here's this huge lumpy belief. This is as good as it gets. Do you have a desire to put that back into your body?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I want you to push it in your mind to the right. And now I want you to feel the energy of resisting it, the thing that doesn't want that in your body. I want you to feel the energy that's resisting it. Can you find that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want that belief anymore. That it's like a feeling. No.
Yes, I can feel it. Kind of feels like
Where is it in your body?
in my shoulders and in my neck. It feels like when you feel like tears coming on and you're trying to push them away.
Okay, I want you to take that out and put it on the floor where the other thing used to be. The other thing is still over to your right. When you pull it out of your body and put it on the floor, what does this resistance look like?
Just looks like a lump of sadness.
A lump of sadness. Well, it is very sad, and it wants comfort. Would you be willing to take it back into yourself just to give it comfort?
Not happily, no.
No. Okay. Push that to the right.
Okay.
Everybody, it's a fascinating brain exercise. This changes the brain dramatically to help us let go of the clutter in our heads. So then I want you to find the resistance to the resistance. Can you find that? What did your resistance look like on the floor? It's sitting on the floor in front of you. What does it look like?
Kind of looks like mucky, muddy water.
Okay, so there it is, mucky, muddy water, and you don't want it back. Find the resistance to the water. Where does it live in your body?
The resistance to not wanting to have
To the
those
water.
feelings,
It's just yucky.
just
You don't want it. There's a feeling of yuck.
Yeah.
What does that resistance feel like?
Feels like knots in my stomach.
Okay, take the knots out of your stomach, put them on the floor. What do they look like?
Tar.
Tar. They're very, very anxious, and they want to not exist, but they need you to love them and take them back before they can do that. Would you be willing to take them back into your body and love them? Be honest.
I mean, I feel like I have to.
No, that's not right. Push it to the right. Find the resistance to the tar.
Okay.
Where's that in your body?
Lower down in my belly.
Knots again?
Yeah, but a different kind of knots. More like just a dull ache.
Okay. So take that out and put it on the floor. What does it look like?
Looks like an iron weight.
An iron weight. Okay, the iron weight will dissolve itself, but to do that it needs to live in your body and be loved. Can you allow that?
In order to get rid of it?
Mm-hmm. I sense hope.
Yeah. I mean,
Tell me where I'm wrong. Okay, now all you have to do, Dallas, and guys, you can do this as many times as you want. You just find the resistance, find the resistance, find the resistance. Keep imagining it outside the body. Now, Dallas, what I want you to do is look over at the original thing, which is the thought, this is as good as it gets. And it was this big, yucky gray lump. I just want you to notice, has it changed?
It looks smaller than it did before.
Yeah, it's smaller. And if you continued to do this exercise, look at the thing next to it, which was yucky, dirty water. Has it changed?
All of it looks smaller than it did before.
Everything's smaller. This is a really strange exercise. It comes from a system of psychotherapy called acceptance and commitment therapy. And that entire school of therapy is about allowing limiting beliefs to dissolve. And you cannot do it. We generally are pushing away our negative beliefs. They hurt. So we push them away. But the resistance causes them to grow stronger. So in the end, you have to get to the point where you can love yourself in your fear of lack before you can create the space for abundance to flow in. So look at all the things on the floor. How are they doing now, Dallas?
They're still there, but they seem much smaller.
They're getting much, much smaller. Now, just go up to the room in your head, open that box, and notice that it's emptier than it was before. The thoughts about money, there are good thoughts, there are bad thoughts. One of the bad thoughts is much smaller. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
It's just like the feeling of the clean office. What's going on for you right now? Your voice changed a little.
It just feels lighter. It feels different.
Now she's broadcasting a vibration of openness, receptivity, and love. That's what brings abundance. Dallas, can you feel that?
I can feel that. And it feels like actual possibility. I feel lighter.
Yeah, it is actual possibility. So in the pursuit of enlightenment, every day something is dropped. As you move toward accepting money in the way that your soul wants to do it, you also move toward enlightenment. I wrote in my notes for this session, you want the abundance of enlightenment as well as money, or it will not feel good. And I made a typo. I said, you want the abundance of enlightenment as well as money, or it will not feel God. So what you're feeling now, and those of you who went through this exercise with us, and you can do this on your own as well. If you re-listen to this recording, you can do this exercise. You just pull out something you don't want, and you see if it wants to come back, or if you let it back, push it aside, find the resistance, try to let that back, push it aside. Work until you can get to something small enough, innocuous enough, that you will take it back into yourself. And weirdly, that switch from resistance to acceptance immediately shrinks all your resistance. And then you not only allow goodness, you allow God. And I have a secret for you. God has all the money. All of it. So once you're part of God, your access to abundance is kind of enormous. So there's something called the red velvet rope effect. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I haven't.
Actually, I still have, I think, because we started late, I think I have 20 minutes-ish to play with. Gordon, is that correct?
You have all the time you want.
Ah, you're so nice to me. So, Dallas, you've done yeoman service here. You've done a tremendous amount of psychological work to clear your resistance to abundance. Can you feel the difference now?
I really do, yes.
Isn't that cool?
It's very cool.
And let me tell you, it took me years of thrashing around before I made the conceptual leaps that you've made in the last 20 minutes. Years. You've done years of work in 20 minutes. I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I want you to just, thank you. And I want you to just realize, my gosh, this is how, if you did this for another week, the physical manifestation is going to start pouring in. I promise you. If you can sustain this and keep emptying out for a week, you'll feel lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. Now, the material wealth won't come in until the vibration is quite clean. So there's this whole thing of, I sustained my faith for a full 6 hours. Where's my money? And those thoughts are obviously sending out a vibration of panic, 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 and the universe won't send your good stuff to panic. It sends, you scream, where's my stuff? And it immediately says, here's your stuff. I got more stuff for you. I sent it to your home at peace.com. And at 101 Peace Street. It's waiting for you. So just keep this up, Dallas, and if you can do it without resistance, which is a very high goal, you'll see manifestation very quickly. If you can do it with not much resistance, you'll still see abundance very quickly. If you do it with lots of resistance, you'll still see plenty of abundance at the rate that you allow it. Are you good with that?
I am good. Thank you so much, Martha.
Thank you, darling. Okay, so now I want to talk to somebody who's been doing the exercise along with me and with Dallas, but who maybe has a little bit of a question or who wants to take it a few steps further. So, Gordon, can you see any raised hands?
Yes, we're going to find some raised hands because I think it's a really good reminder that this work is something that has to be, that there are layers to your work. And that's what we're really talking about is what are the layers to our work to achieve it?
Yeah. It's more like a path. to me. I mean, layers is definitely one way to describe it. To me, it feels like walking along a path, and that if you, sort of like on stepping stones. And going to one stepping stone is amazing, but you really have to go to a series of them. Some people have massive enlightenment experiences, and their brains are like scrambled for a little while, but then they attract huge abundance. I'd like people to do it without that much trauma. So if you're going to do it without trauma, it's more gradual, and there are more steps.
So how do you break the trauma?
You just don't want to induce trauma. Well, I don't know how people have their massive enlightenment. Like if you have a sort of Saul on the road to Damascus, you fall off your camel, you see a bright light, you can't even function for a year. If you read stories of instantaneous enlightenment, there's a period of not even being able to really function in the world because what you see is consciousness creating reality in every moment, and it's not real. It's like a computer game that's being created by consciousness. And so somebody says to you, how are you doing? And you look at them and you say, there is no me. There is no you. What? And they're like, you're making no sense. And you lose your job, and you go off to the mountains, and maybe you stay there forever. Maybe you come back and learn to reintegrate, but it's quite the shock to one's system, instantaneous enlightenment. And then abundance does flow. They say, I knew someone who worked with Gandhi once, and she used to say, you have no idea how much money it took to keep Gandhi poor. Because he wanted to be poor, but his energy attracted so much abundance that just to deflect the money that was sent to him required a large staff of people working full time to deflect money. So enlightenment does bring abundance, but you don't have to have an enlightenment that is being struck by lightning. You can have an enlightenment that is just joyfully receiving more light every day, but not so much it burns your eyes. Does that make sense?
It does. I think when we talk about enlightenment, everyone has different definitions. Deepak has his that he shares. And I think for many people probably joining us today, the goal of enlightenment might not even be something that they even realize is an option for them, as well as even knowing what it is. Can you sort of unpack how you define what is enlightenment so we know how to even begin to know we're moving in that direction?
That's a really good question. Thank you, because the semantics can get so confusing. By enlightenment, I mean freedom from all false beliefs, and which is the same thing as realizing in every moment as an absolute reality that you are an attribute of the God force, that you are being manifested into being by consciousness in every given moment, and that this world is just vibration that happens when consciousness meets the void. And those are words that they can't describe. It's an experience that can't be described. But it's the loss of all suffering, because it's the complete loss of an ego identity and complete knowledge of oneself as sort of a subsection of God, which can't really be divided, so it becomes the universe. Does that make sense?
It does. Is that attainable and sustainable would be my question?
It's definitely sustainable once it's happened. For the last year or so, for some reason, books that it mentioned this type of experience just kept falling into my lap, and some of them were very, very obscure, and from all cultures, from all times in history. And a few of them said explicitly, it was not worth writing a book about this before now. For example, the psychologist David Hawkins, he wrote a book called Power versus Force, which was very popular, very successful. He's just a self-help writer. He had an experience that completely dissolved his ego identity when he was around 30, and he kept it secret not secret, he just didn't talk about it for like 30 years. He said there was no use talking about it. It's so statistically rare that nobody needs to know and nobody will understand anyway. However, I think about 2006, he finally wrote a book that was about his experience of losing his ego, and it's almost impossible to read because he doesn't ever use the word I if he can avoid it. So he'll say things like, instead of I came around the corner, there was a sick person, and I felt a desire to help them, he'll say, the body turned around a corner. An apparent other body was observed. The apparent other body believed itself to be in suffering. A bolt of energy emerged from the chest and entered the other. I mean, it's just like unreadable. But every account that that you could read from the cloud of unknowing in the 13th century, to Rumi's poetry, to the words of Jesus or Maharaji or anyone, they all tell the same kind of story. And David Hawkins said, I wrote this down, and it's clear he didn't want everybody to love it. He wanted people who were obsessed with it to force themselves through it. And he said, I believe that we are at a time in history when this may become statistically more common. And he expects it to happen to many people. Adyashanti is another writer who says the same thing, and it's starting to come up like this in the writing of very highly evolved people. And I do think that it has become more possible because every time it happens to a living person, the energy of it rises for humanity as a whole. And there are so many paths to it. There's Zen in the art of archery is a path to it. There is tracking animals in Africa is a path to it. Working with horses is a path to it. Meditation is a path to it. And weirdly enough, the search for true abundance is a path to enlightenment. Everything that our souls desire ends up being a path to enlightenment. Will we reach it in this lifetime? Probably not. Will we get closer? Yeah, if we want to. And every step closer brings more joy, more lightness. So I don't really want to go in any other direction, and I don't want to lead anyone else to go in any other direction. And whether it's achieved in the next 20 years or in the next 20 lifetimes, I really don't care. As long as we're going in the right direction, we'll get there. And that's just my personal belief.
Well, and that's what's so powerful is that it takes, people to stand up, like you said with Adi Shankara and other people to share their truth and their true north, as you wrote in your book. I mean, I think what we keep forgetting is that we are equal as an individual as every individual is in the world.
Yeah.
And so when you go back to the abundance, when you go back to the work you do with Dallas, I think we all experienced that moment of which we questioned our worth in some place. And I think for so many people on the path to enlightenment, they question, other people are seeking this, I'm not worthy of it, or I haven't done enough, I haven't read enough books, I haven't attended enough seminars. Like, we just think we're not good enough, which is always a cyclical inner dialogue that stops us from knowing and believing. And I think that's one of the barriers to abundance I've seen in working with people.
Absolutely. And in fact, instead of taking another caller, I'd actually like to chat with you for a few minutes about this, Gordon.
That'd be great.
As you're talking about this, it feels to me that you're speaking from great empathy. So that tells me that either at some point in the past or maybe still, the thought, I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough, I haven't done enough, that some of those thoughts may come up for you. Do they?
Definitely.
They definitely come up for me.
Yeah, I definitely, I think I've done a lot to try to override them, but as you were doing the exercise with Dallas, I realized that, in the whole pushing away, it's like we've all done a really good job in the surface or the presentation of pushing away, but when you go to the deeper levels, it's still there.
Yeah. And the key to that is the word override. that means to push them down and add something else on top of them. Yes, I am enough. And that's trying to shove 13 people into an elevator that's already full. And that it's not going to get rid of the thoughts that are affliction. It just covers them up, and then they're sometimes harder to get to. And it still has a positive effect. But because the negative is still present, that's part of the broadcast you're giving to the universe, and you'll get the mixed bag that you're sending out. So the root belief, the absolute root, and Gordon's gotten to it after years, I'm sure, of deep introspection and work. The absolute root is, I'm not good enough. Or, for some people it's, I don't deserve it. But you don't deserve it because you're not good enough. So, again, we can't override or push away this thought. But we can ask and invite the mind, which is the only thing attached to it, to let this thought go. You, Gordon, volitionally can't just let it go by trying. You can't. The mind holds it automatically, the way the heart beats. So you need to find a way to relax the mind into allowing it to go. It's the reptile brain that holds on to that. So the first thing you notice is when you're in that state of believing, I don't deserve, let's make the stakes absolutely as high as they go. I don't deserve enlightenment. When I'm not good enough to be enlightened. Hold that thought in your mind the way you'd hold an object in your hands. Hold it tightly and feel what effect it has on you. And let us know what that is, please.
It's almost like a balloon floating away and trying to grasp it. And
so you're the little kid watching your balloon float away.
Definitely.
And that sounds incredibly sad. How does it feel in your body?
It's sadness, and it's almost a sense of disbelief. It's giving up. It's
despair.
It's despair.
Oh. Could that possibly be your true home, Gordon? Deep, deep, deep in your soul, do you believe that God and the universe want you to live in despair?
I don't believe that, but it could be the programming that I'm still working from.
It is the programming you're working on, or it wouldn't be there in the first place. Without the belief that it's true, you wouldn't hold on to this thought that causes despair for a hot second. You hold it because you believe it's true. But its effect is to cause despair. And the Buddha often said, wherever you find the sea, no matter what it looks like, you will know it because the sea always tastes of salt. And wherever you find enlightenment, whatever form it takes, you will know it because enlightenment always tastes of freedom. Is despair freedom for you, Gordon?
No.
Then it can't be true. The truth sets you free. That's the effect of truth.
And it goes back to your statement, freedom from all false beliefs.
Yep. So the way you know it's false is that it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like shackles. It feels like a heavy weight. Tell me where I'm wrong.
No, it feels like shackles and heavy weight.
Oh, okay. So just with your analytical mind, can you go with me to the place that says, the truth sets us free, so what imprisons me must not be the truth?
Totally.
Okay. So now hold the one who is in despair at the center of your heart. It's a child's despair. The idea of the balloon going away, that's something from little boyhood. So I want you to feel the sorrow of the little boy in your heart where it's been your whole life. the little boy saying, I'm not good enough to be enlightened. Hold him the way you would hold a very exhausted, very wounded pet or baby. Do you have a pet?
I don't. I have lots. I'm an uncle to lots of pets.
Okay, so do you like dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Okay, so think of your despair as a little dog that has believed it's supposed to live in a torturous place, and you've just rescued it. And it's shivering in your lap, and everything has hurt it, but it's yearning, yearning, yearning to love, because that's what dogs do. They love. How do you feel toward the dog?
Just so much love and wanting to just make it feel safe.
Yeah. And that's in you. That compassionate, loving, gentle self. And it's holding the part of you that's in despair that thinks he's not good enough. Can you feel that compassion for the little boy in you who doesn't feel good enough?
Totally.
Okay. Now you just move your identity from the one who's in despair to the one who is bringing comfort. Which one is the real you?
The comfort is just overriding, of course, all of it.
They're both really you.
Totally.
But the comfort is the one that knows the truth, which is, oh, sweetheart, everything is all right. And what do you say when the little boy says, but I'm not good enough? And you're in that state of loving compassion.
You say, you're more than good enough. You're amazing, You're beautiful, and you are a greater light than you realize.
That's the truth. How does that make you feel? Freer or less free?
Definitely freer. There's a sense of relief. There is a lightness.
Lightness, opening, relaxation, relief. These are all feelings of being set free. Now, what just happened to you is that you not only started to dissolve the belief, I'm not good enough for enlightenment, but in some degree, you just achieved part of your enlightenment. Enlighten. It feels lighter. Yeah?
Definitely.
So you're enlightened in relationship to that belief when you're in the place of compassion. And the part of you that's in despair will soon heal if you can stay in that. The puppy will get better and start to trust you if you always treat it that way. And if you don't, then you'll have a more problematic relationship. But you can always start fresh. The puppy is fresh in every moment. You can get its trust back any moment you decide to treat it with love. And as you start to do that more and more consistently, that feeling of being enough immediately invites having enough. And the feeling of having enough sends out into the universe a strong resonance of so much abundance. And then the first thing that happens is you lose your fear of lack. And the second thing that happens is you start getting all kinds of stuff. Money, love, objects, anything you want. It's crazy. When you stay in that place of no lying to yourself, miracles occur constantly, and you don't even really think much about it because the peace was the point all along. And it's just like, oh, here's more stuff. I think I'll have to give this away. It takes a lot of money to keep Gandhi poor. So you just did a huge piece of, both you and Dallas did a very, very, very powerful piece of work that, from a very pedantic American sense, will one day result in physical wealth if that is what you want. But you've also gone beyond the fixation on physical wealth, which is fear-based, and to the place of spiritual wealth, which is love-based, and which will allow you to be who you're meant to be in this world. and have plenty while you do it.
Well, I would certainly say that you've really given us the path that and reminder that abundant life starts now, and you've helped us really begin to create the abundance that's going to last. So, my dear
happening.
Martha, thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I look forward to seeing you later.
Thank you. I really do appreciate all that you are and all that you bring. If you love Martha as much as we do, please join Martha, Deepak, and Marianne Williamson at Seduction of Spirit with a theme to create abundance, November 2nd through 8th at the beautiful Omni La Costa Resort and Spa. This retreat will allow you to slow down and tune into the peace of the present moment of awareness through the practice of meditation and yoga. To learn more about Chopra Center signature workshops, retreats, and seminars, go visit us at chopra.com. Call us anytime at 888-736-6895. Again, 888-736-6895. Stay connected and join us anytime at Facebook at facebook.com/Chopra Center. Thanks for joining the conversation. I'm Gordon McGregor, wishing you a day of awesomeness. Thanks for listening.